want to start this hour talking about the rest of the league, Jeremy. It was, for the most part, a good weekend for the league. You take Vanderbilt out, which we can all do pretty simply. LSU obviously didn't play very well and was an embarrassment, but the rest of the league was pretty solid. We'll start with the game of the weekend, Clemson and Georgia. Top 5 showdown in Charlotte, and we spent all spring and all summer and all camp telling Kirby Smart, you can't win these low-scoring games with defense. You got to open up the offense. You got to sling it around. You got to go score a ton of points. And what do we have in the first game, big game of the season, a game where neither offense scores a single touchdown. Georgia gets a pick 6 and wins 10-3, but they got it done, and that's a huge win for Kirby and his program.
Yeah, I just knew the Dogs would have a ton of defense this year, and that's exactly what they started. Now, did I predict it'd be this good? I didn't think they stopped DJ Uiagalelei in that offense and really shut him down. Like that was a huge surprise for me, and I think another surprise was I thought JT Daniel in the Georgia offense would be a little more potent. I thought they'd be able to score a little more points, be a little more active, get a lot more done, but if you ask Kirby, that's exactly the kind of football he signed up for, just hard-nosed, tough football games, defense playing well, and finding a way to get it done. So, yeah, that was good for the Dogs.
Clemson's defensive front is so good that basically Georgia decided they weren't going to stretch the field, and they didn't. I mean, JT Daniels completed 22 of his 30 throws for 135 yards. I mean, they're getting rid of it. They're trying to get first downs. You know, they weren't very productive on offense, but I don't think they felt they could sit back in the pocket, let, double breaking routes develop with these terrors on the defensive front moving forward. I think that's a fairly sound game plan. They probably thought that they would run it pretty well, and they did. Zamir White had averaged 5.5 yards a carry, just couldn't turn in any points, but they made the play they had to. This is a statement win for Georgia, I think. Neutral site against one of the powers. They were trying to get over that hump. I don't think a lot of people are going to give them the credit they maybe deserve for beating Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl and getting to overtime against Alabama. Most people are just going to go, well, they hadn't won the big one. But this is very clearly a top 4 program in college football, and they proved that on Saturday.
Yeah, that's definitely what Coach Smart and the Georgia program needed. They go against Clemson. It seemed like they lose these games year in and year out to start the year. They can't really, get over that hump, and if they do, they run into Alabama and can't get past them. So this is definitely a step in the right direction for that program. I think a lot of people were picking Clemson to win this game, and it was good for them to really get that. So now this is what we talked about all last week. This is going to springboard the Dogs this year. You start the game with this, and you run into that weak SEC East schedule. It's going to springboard them to have a really good season and really, put them where they want to be.
I thought the second biggest story in terms of the SEC, it's not going to play nationally because this team won't be relevant nationally. They're relevant to us because they're on the schedule. But one SEC team surely showed a change in philosophy, a change in culture, and that was Kentucky. This has been a team that could not move the football on offense. They've been physical. They've been tough. They've been able to run the ball. They've stayed in games. They've been competitive under the last few years under Mark Stoops. Will Levis comes out and throws for 367. Now, ULM's terrible, absolutely awful. But they've got a quarterback that can throw it a little bit, and that's something that's been new for them. That's, you're not going to come out and become a prolific passing offense in the SEC if you can't do it against ULM, which they couldn't. They did on Saturday. I think that was really a welcome sight for Mark Stoops' eyes.
Yeah, I think that's something that he wanted to get their offense going. And anytime you score 45 points, I don't care who it is against, you're executing and you're running the stuff that you need to do, and you're setting yourself up for the season. We kept talking about that all last week, how important it is to start a season on the right foot and really, get your guys out there, get some of your younger guys out there. That's something that LSU didn't get a chance to do at all week 1, and that's what Kentucky got to do. Got to be against ULM, but you want to start the right way and execute, and that's really going to put them on the right foot to start the season.
Does Bo Nix going 20 of 22 for 275 and 3 touchdowns do anything for you against the Zips of Akron?
My man Bo. I said Bo would step up this year. I had a little faith in Bo. Yes, that did not shock me. He's been in the program seems like forever, played a lot of snaps. They're going to lean on that run game heavy, but if you can get him playing a play-action game like that, Auburn may be better than a lot of people think.
I mean, they played better on Saturday than I would have expected. Again, Akron's terrible, but Nix he's been a guy for his 2 years as Auburn starter who's kind of run around, done things off schedule, thrown across his body, made some iffy decisions, hasn't been accurate. On Saturday, he got up there behind an offensive line that has everybody back. he's planted his back foot, and he actually made some throws. So look, it's Akron. We'll figure out some things down the road, but it looked a little bit different. It looked like he had been coached a little bit better. Everybody says Gus Malzahn tends to kind of oversimplify everything for quarterbacks, and just you're running that read option, and you're only looking at one or two things. This looked to be a little bit more. It looked a little bit more crisp than it had for his time there. I wanted to touch on a couple of things. Two teams that avoided absolute disaster. Rice took a 17-7 lead on Arkansas in the third quarter. Arkansas is a bad quarterback, and the roster's not very good. They did have their coordinators back. Their defense should be pretty good with linebacker play. That's relative. Good for Arkansas on the better half, but their offense was just atrocious until they got it rolling a little bit there late when Rice ran out of gas. To me, 38-17 looks fine, and they did cover, unfortunately, but it was a real rough go early on for Arkansas as they look forward to the Texas game next week.
Yeah, KJ Jefferson, 12 for 21 for 128 yards, 1 pick and a touchdown. That's just going against Rice. You need a lot more from your quarterback, and I know they're going to be counting on KJ a lot this season, so he's going to have to step it up. Their run game got going, which is what you need to do against a team like Rice, but I think the Razorbacks, they may find themselves in trouble if they play like this in the SEC play.
Louisiana Tech. Oh, my gosh.
I called it.
Oh, my gosh.
I called it. You said they're supposed to be bad this year. I said, I don't know.
Well, did you see the fourth quarter? They had a 20-point lead on Mississippi State in the fourth quarter and could not hold it. And look, at that point, you're Louisiana Tech, Skip Holtz. You gotta give it a go, man. And they are driving down, trying to get a field goal to win the game. They're down 1, and he ran it 3 times in a row from right around the 30-yard line, and it let his kicker, a mid-major college kicker, just kind of lean, we'll just try the 47-yarder. No, you got to make it a 27-yarder. Throw the football. He played for a field goal. You don't have Justin Tucker of the Ravens over there. You got a mid-major kicker who's terrified. That was so egregious to me that Skip Holtz did not play more aggressive on the last drive and settled for a 47-yard field goal when you've got a chance to pull a big upset against an SEC team that maybe makes the nation watch you for a second. You're flailing away on CBS Sports Network against Marshall and Rice most of the year. You get a chance in front of a big boy and to see if you can matter, and he punked out. I don't have a better way to say it.
Herm Edwards had one of the greatest quotes of all time. You play to win the game, and that's exactly what they didn't do. They're playing scared. They're playing, okay, well, let's not ruin this. Let's not mess this up. Let's just, walk into this win, and that's just something you can't ever do, especially against an SEC football team. You got to take it, and those are what the great teams do. They go out there, they take your will, they take your chance of winning the football game, and they get back on the bus and they go home victorious. And I was rooting for La Tech. I thought they'd pull it off, and definitely that last drive, they definitely choked it. But Mississippi State, man, they're going to be in trouble. They're going to be in trouble this year. They're struggling with the Bulldogs. They're going to have their hands full going into SEC play.
Yeah, I've said it a lot of times. I don't have a lot of trust in the Leach era in Mississippi State. Another one that it was of note for LSU because it's a non-conference game that's coming up. Missouri hosted Central Michigan. I thought Central Michigan kind of acquitted itself fairly well. The game was competitive for much of it. It was 34-24, a 10-point win. Their quarterback, Jacob Sermon, threw for 295, his sophomore from a transfer from Washington. They were in it. Now, Missouri ran it down their throats. Tyler Beatty went for 203 yards, and it wasn't like Central Michigan had the ball with a chance to win or anything, but a fairly competent effort from Central Michigan, who we'll see in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. You start the year off going off on the road against an SEC opponent. You want to be competitive. You want to give your team a chance to win a football game, and that's what you did. I didn't think the Chippewas had any chance of keeping this game within 10 points. It was crazy, and Connor Bazelak had a great game. He kept them in it, kept them with the lead, but Central Michigan is they're going to be coming into town licking their chops after how we played against UCLA. So we're going to have to buckle down and make sure we don't let those guys upset us.
Florida obviously controlled Florida Atlantic for the entirety of the game. Florida Atlantic put up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but it was never really competitive. The most interesting thing from that game, I'm sure not many people watched it, was that we've been talking about Emory Jones at Florida for the entirety of camp, and he did play, but Anthony Richardson, the other quarterback from Florida, came in and ran it for 160 yards on 7 carries. They're going to use him. We know that back in the Urban Meyer days with Dan Mullen at offensive coordinator. They had Chris Leak as their quarterback, and they brought in a freshman, Tim Tebow, to run some short yardage things as the quarterback. You're going to see Anthony Richardson. He's an explosive athlete, and like I said, he ran for 160 yards on 7 carries from the quarterback spot. The quarterback's Emory Jones, but they've got another option there, and it's going to be something to watch.
Yeah, that's right in Dan Mullen's wheelhouse. You see it every year with him. He somehow finds a way to make the 2-quarterback system work and really unlock his dual-threat quarterbacks. If there's an offensive coordinator or offensive guy in this country that I would trust to get my dual-threat quarterback rolling, it'd be Dan Mullen, and he seems to do a great job of that every year. So I wouldn't be shocked if this Florida team is super competitive all throughout the SEC play.
Number 6, Texas A&M 41, Kent State 10. Pretty pedestrian non-conference effort. Nothing shocking from a personnel standpoint. The score was fine. It was Haynes King was okay. 21 of 33 for 292. He showed the tools that he has. He's really quick, and he's got a big arm. He was a little inaccurate at times. I watched a little bit of this game, but Kent State's no good, and Texas A&M's got some real weapons on the outside. Aniyah Smith is one of the most exciting playmakers in the league. He had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Devon Achane is the running back who was great in the bowl game last year, went for 124 on just 12 carries. He scored twice. For A&M, it looked like, we've got a quarterback with some ability. We got to coach him up. We got some athletes, and we're certainly a lot better than Kent State.
Yeah, that's all that was. Our recruiting classes are better than your recruiting classes. But as far as execution goes, that was my question heading into the season. Haynes King's 3 interceptions against Kent State. That's just inexcusable. You go on SEC playing like that, you're going to lose a lot of football games. And that was my question mark for this team. I knew they could run the ball. I knew their defense could get stops, but could their quarterback make the throws in tough football games in SEC play to really win the games that they're supposed to win? And I'm going to still stick with that. I think Haynes King has showed some flashes, but he's going to have to take care of the football.
Got anything to say about Vanderbilt?
No, man.
I didn't think so. 28-3 to East Tennessee State. Clark Lee, I hope you enjoy that buyout whenever it does come. I've held it off as long as I can. Now we have to talk about Alabama. Look, here's my thing on Alabama. I understand that these neutral site kickoff games are a nice fundraiser for the athletic department, but these athletic directors who send their football teams into the slaughterhouse to play Alabama are clowns. Why are you doing this to nationally embarrass your team? Give me some scores here. Duke, I guess you could take the payday. 42-3, you lost. Louisville, I guess you'll take the payday. 51-14, you lost. Florida State, 24-7, lost. USC, nice effort going to play Alabama. 52-6. Now take your check and get on down the road. Wisconsin got dusted. Michigan, 41-14. Why do they continue to put their teams out there against Alabama so they can get run off the field and embarrassed? And in Florida State's case, lose your quarterback and eventually your coach. Not a great plan in my estimation, but hey, they decided they wanted to do it, and Miami took a 44-13 loss. The score, it was just an absolute rout from the start.
So are we still not sold on Bryce Young yet? Because I think I'm willing to buy some stock in that. Because 27 for 38, 344 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's how you start the season as Alabama quarterback. And if he's playing like that, watch out, because they're going to be routing a lot of teams, especially with that defense that they have. And you just think, man, we lose Mac Jones, we lose Devontae Smith, we lose Najee, we lose this guy. And we still come out there locked in, ready to go. And that's something that I question about our LSU team. It seemed like to start the game, we just didn't seem like we knew what we were doing. That's not the case with Alabama. Nick Saban makes sure those guys are ready to roll, and they route people. So they're going to be good again. I hate to say it.
Surprise, surprise. It's just a total annihilation from start to finish from the Crimson Tide.